up next we have, we have Mark presenting his 3D game of life. This was a really cool project where he took the ordinary game of life and took it to the next dimension. Mark, you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Omri. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So, as Omri told you, I built the 3D game of life for our Hackathon project at Fullstack. So, as a quick reminder, I wanted to show people what the game of life was, as a refresher. So, this is the game of life. It's essentially a two-dimensional grid of cells, which are either alive or dead. And based on the number of living neighbors to a cell, the cell will either die or stay alive the next round, or it will be reborn with the correct number of living neighbors. So here's just a simulation running. You see it looks somewhat lifelike, basically like a sort of a colony of bacteria. And it's pretty interesting. I've spent quite a bit of time just kind of watching this. It's a little bit addictive. So the cool thing about this, though, is that with these very simple rules, we actually have some pretty interesting animations that can happen. So I'll go ahead and play over here. So these patterns will continue indefinitely. I think my favorite is the top right because it looks like two clapping hands. But there's all kinds of different patterns, and there's actually some gliders, which is another one that I'll show you. So this is a pattern that repeats indefinitely while also moving across the screen. So those are kind of cool. And then one more I wanted to show you was this is actually called a glider gun. So this will produce those gliders indefinitely. And it's really interesting because with such a simple set of rules, we get such complicated behavior. So what I wanted to do was rebuild this in 3 dimensions. And so that is what I did. This uses Three.js to drive the graphics. And you can see this looks very familiar with what we were just looking at. Obviously, the gliders and repeating patterns are not statistically likely. So this is more of the random generation. But it looks essentially lifelike, and it's been a lot of fun to put this together. So one of the things I noticed when I was putting this together was that there are actually a number of different people that have built similar projects, and they all have different requirements as far as the numbers of living neighbors. So what I did was built this as a tool. Okay. So you can actually determine what those rules might be, and you'll notice if you look closely that the behavior actually will change significantly, and with some rules there are gliders and with some there are not. And so that's kind of interesting, and this toy here, it's actually pretty fun to play with, and it lets you try all these rules freely. So this is hosted on Heroku. Let me switch it back over here for a second. Those actually are the rules, as I said, very simple. This is currently hosted on Heroku. I would encourage you to go give it a try, have some fun with it, right? It's also up on GitHub, so I'd encourage you to check that out. And thank you for your time. I appreciate you tuning in today.
Thanks a lot, Mark. I'm looking forward to the undoubted sequel, Next Cohort 40 Game of Life. Although, I don't know, maybe I'm already doing that. Maybe that's what I am.
Well, Omri, what a lot of people out there on the internet don't know is that if you set it to 4 neighbors, 3 survivals, and 2 to stay the same state, what actually happens is that out of that will emerge a picture of my face. So I'll be willing to try that out in Game of Life 3D.
Wow, the secret of David Yang has been exposed. This is where he came from originally. A Game of Life simulation. That explains a lot. I won't go into the details, but it does explain a lot.